Hi, welcome to the first module. Actually, is going to be on goal setting. In your workbook, it's actually on page number 6. Why I like to start with this in a lot of workshops that I conduct is if we don't really understand why we're here, if we're not thinking, tomorrow, next week, next month, then it kind of gets lost in the haze and the maze of all the information and things we're trying to keep up with in this business. Goal setting is a pivotal thing that a lot of people have to learn how to do in any career, especially automotive sales. And I want to start off at the top of your page, which is page number 6, on just filling in some blanks. It says in the very top that goal setting, one of the nice things it does is helps control our focus. Now, if you want to flip over to the back of page 6, I'd like you to write down a sentence. And the sentence is, whatever we impress on our minds regularly, we will express in our life and business automatically. Whatever we impress on our minds regularly, we will express in our life and business automatically. Unfortunately, I don't have a little computer chip I can put in the back of our heads or stick in our ear that kind of downloads all the information and we're good to go from there. If I could figure that one out, I'd probably be doing other things for a living than what I'm currently doing. We learn through constant and repetitious exposures. Reviewing things at night, reviewing things during the day, once a week, trainings every 3-4 months. It's constant, and really goal setting is exactly like that. We learned at a very young age, or we saw our parents do it, that keeping to-do lists and grocery lists are not a bad idea. You don't want to drive 20 minutes to the grocery store just to figure out you forgot something. Well, unfortunately, in our educational system, this was somehow left behind. We were never really taught how to goal set, and we really can go by a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20 years. And the only major reason we can give people as to why we didn't do things and why things didn't happen the way we wanted to is probably we weren't focused on it. I forgot. Maybe every January 1st, you sit down, you rewrite them, you go back over them, if you do rewrite them, and then we never review them. So goal setting is really a lot like keeping a grocery list or a to-do list on what you'd like to get done in the next year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it's going to be. So on the top of page 6, it says under focus that one thing goal setting helps us do is learn how to control and adjust our mental and emotional states or moods. Now what this means is through really focusing on what you want and not thinking about what you don't want, we tend to focus our energies a lot different. The other sentence I'd like you to write back on the back of the page, on page 6, if you want to flip back, using that as a worksheet, is our energy flows where our focus goes. Our energy flows where our focus goes. If I started focusing on anything in my life, I'm going to start giving that more energy. It could be a negative situation if that's what I'm doing. I'm not focused on what I want to do. Hopefully it's a positive situation, and we want to focus on what we want to move towards from, or what we want to move towards and not what we want to move away from. Now, we're driven by, I guess, 2 things. One is seeking pleasure, one is avoiding pain. In saying that, goal setting can work this way. If you think about what you don't want, but you really strive to avoid it, not in terms of, I hope I don't have a bad month, but what can I do to make sure I don't have a bad month or that my month is great, goal setting that way can actually work well for you if we're pain avoiders. If you're using it in a way where you're actually seeking pleasure, I want to get this done, get that done to make more money, to make my life easier, maybe to build my customer base, moving towards something is also very viable. So when you do set up your goals, please note that when you're writing them down or reviewing them, you want to structure it in such a way that they're emotionally based. You want them to be based on something you want to either move away from and not have happen to you again or ever happen to you. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to have my car repossessed. Or they want to be structured in a way that's something you're moving towards. I want a bigger house. I want to pay off my credit cards. I want to sell so many vehicles a month. So that being said and done, do focus on one of those 2 emotional bases when you do set goals. The next blank in your book is we have to also goal set because it changes, and the blank is the questions you ask yourself. We think in terms of questions. It really is the internal thought process. Customer walks through the door. You could be thinking, hey, how can I make this an easy situation for me and this customer? How can I get along with them? How could I figure out, my best plan of attack and where to start the sale? You could also be asking yourself some disempowering questions. Things like, why do I get all the bad customers? How come I work here? Why do I have to show up in the morning at this time? Those are negative questions. Those questions are not going to make you feel better or be very productive in any way. Goal setting the proper way will make sure your questions are focused around on how do I get the goals that I want and how can I make this happen sooner and easier for myself. That's another reason to goal set. The next one is your own visualization of the situation. This is Sports Psychology 101. This was first studied, I think, in the 50s. You've got a couple of athletes. One person is out there, let's say a basketball player, shooting baskets for an hour. And let's say that basketball player already has a pretty high skill set. And then you get someone with similar skills, and they are literally sitting in a room with their eyes closed, just visualizing shooting baskets, and hearing, feeling, and seeing it. And they go out and they do the test, and the test shows more often than not that the person that sat there clearly visualizing the perfect shots, the results are actually better than the person that was out there just practicing live. So where I'm going with this one is through goal setting properly, and you start visualizing your goals as if you actually have them, your mind can't tell the difference between something that's been created or something that's actually going on. And it's almost like a positive affirmation of where you see yourself. But as those visualizations sort of crystallize and become more solid to your mind and your emotional system and your nervous system, you start acting out things subconsciously to make sure that goal happens, because your brain is almost working with it in past tense as if you already have it. And the last blank at the top of your page is the importance of changing the words you use to describe things. A situation could be challenging, it could be interesting, or it could be a waste of time or difficult. As we adjust and change our words, this almost goes back and backtracks and changes the visualization of the situation. We change the questions that we ask ourselves, and that ultimately, again, changes our state. So it's almost like a figure eight or like a loop where all those emotional and mental responses are connected, and goal setting is the beginning of that. So in conclusion of this first short segment on goal setting, what I'm getting at here is, as we move forward through the material on leasing, I'd like you to plan out and think about your future business, and where do you see this sort of, this option and this management of a shorter trade cycle for you and for the dealership and for your customer. Let's be forward thinking. Let's not be, reactive. We want to be proactive. I'm Dwayne. I'll see you at the next short segment.